News when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Nathan Hager.
And I'm Karen Moscow.
Karen, we begin with the latest from the Middle East. The U.S. and Iran have agreed to stop attacking each other before talks resume this week over the Strait of Hormuz and other issues. The latest strikes began Thursday when Iran hit a container ship in the strait. That led to back-and-forth attacks that ended last night with Kuwait and Bahrain intercepting drones and missiles from Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations Mike Waltz says the U.S. will continue to respond militarily if necessary.
Last few nights, where we'll continue to militarily, if needed, take down their infrastructure that they're trying to use to illegally control an international waterway.
UN Ambassador Mike Waltz appeared on Fox News Sunday, heard every Sunday on Bloomberg Radio. Bloomberg's Europe, Middle East, and Africa News Director Will Kennedy says all this has put the 60-day ceasefire to the test.
It is fragile, and clearly what happened over the last few days will be a worry to everyone and to people trying to get oil and other goods in and out of the Strait of Hormuz. I think, though, that both sides probably want an opportunity for the talks to continue and to build on what was agreed in their memorandum of understanding. So it is a truce, but extremely fragile one, I think.
Bloomberg's Will Kennedy reports both sides continue to tussle over whether Iran will be able to impose tolls or other costs for ships to move through the strait. Talks on that and other technical issues are expected to resume this week in Doha, Qatar.
Well, Nathan, Russia expects U.S. negotiators Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner to travel to Moscow to continue talks on ending the war in Ukraine once Washington is no longer preoccupied with the conflict with Iran. In an interview with state television, Russian President Vladimir Putin said Moscow received new proposals to limit fighting in Ukraine, but he rejected them.
Back in this country, Karen, gasoline prices continue to fall, and Bloomberg's John Tucker's keeping an eye on that. Good morning, John.
Yeah, good morning, Nathan. The latest national survey from AAA shows the average price for unleaded has now fallen to $3.86 a gallon. That represents just over a 12% decline over the last month. The average price a year ago, you'll recall this, stood at $3.19. Now, the decline comes on hopes of some sort of lasting ceasefire with Iran. But Bloomberg intelligence analysts caution that oil markets may be pricing too smooth a transition from the Gulf War. They point out that intermittent security incidents and cautious ship owner behavior could keep the path back to normal slower than the prices imply, especially with strategic inventories at a 43-year low. In New York, I'm John Tucker, Bloomberg Radio.
All right, John, thank you. Well, back in Washington, House Speaker Mike Johnson says he'll send the bipartisan housing bill that passed Congress last week to President Trump to sign today.
The housing bill really is a Republican priority because it will lower housing costs. We made a lot of promises to the voters, and we're fulfilling those every single day of this Congress. And this is a big part of that because it will increase the availability, the access to more housing, bring down cost, cut regulations, do the things that we know are very important for that market.
House Speaker Mike Johnson appeared on Fox's Sunday Morning Futures, and President Trump abruptly canceled a signing ceremony for the housing bill last week to pressure the Senate to pass a nationwide voter ID law that he's been pushing for months.
Well, Karen, the Supreme Court is expected to issue its final decisions of its term this week, and we get more on that from Bloomberg's Amy Morris in Washington.
Justices are preparing to release opinions on some of the biggest issues of the term. Those include President Trump's push to restrict birthright citizenship and expand the president's power to fire board members at independent agencies, including whether the president can oust Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook. Now, the Supreme Court heard oral arguments earlier this year in Cook's case and appeared skeptical of the administration's removal attempt. The justices are weighing whether the for-cause removal provision permits a president to bypass due process. In Washington, Amy Morris, Bloomberg Radio.
All right, Amy, thank you. Let's turn to the markets now, where futures are higher as we kick off the holiday-shortened trading week. Right now, S&P futures are up 0.7%, Dow futures up 0.33%, and NASDAQ futures up 1%. Last week, the S&P 500 closed below its 50-day moving average for the first time since April. On Thursday, we get the monthly jobs report for the month of June.
Then ahead of that report, Karen, the Federal Reserve's new chairman grabs the spotlight in Europe. Bloomberg's Monica Ricks reports.
Fed Chair Kevin Warsh will make his debut on the global stage this week at the European Central Bank's annual symposium in Portugal, along with 3 other veterans of the 2008 global financial crisis. Questions over financial stability, including links to the artificial intelligence boom, will likely loom large at this event, as well as any hints on interest rates and the policy panel's chemistry. Last year, former Fed Chair Jerome Powell got a standing ovation and tons of praise for standing firm against attacks from President Trump. Monica Ricks, Bloomberg Radio.
And that's news when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Karen Moscow.
I'm Nathan Hager, and this is Bloomberg.